This conference will now be recorded.
Right. Right, let's start today's session. In the last session, we were discuss about abstract function and abstract class. Now, in this session, I'm going to start with the exception handling mechanism in object-oriented programming, or anywhere we can use this exception handling mechanism. So, today topic is exception handling mechanism. Exception handling mechanism. So, first of all, what is an exception? Okay, so exception means generally when we start writing Python script and execute, okay, so you may get two types of error occurrence after execution or while executing Python script. When we write Python code and execute, there may be chance to get two types of error occurrence. One is syntactical errors, and next one is runtime errors. Runtime errors, syntactical errors, and runtime errors. Syntactical errors as well as runtime errors, we can say that. So syntactical errors means what? The errors which will occur when we miss some double quotes, or when we miss some brackets, or when we miss some colon, or when we write some wrong spelling to the syntax. Wrong spelling to the syntax. In this case, we will get syntax errors. So syntactical errors can be easily identified and rectified by the programmer at the time of writing the code only. So these syntactical errors do not cause any harmful to the program execution. Okay. So the syntactical errors do not cause any harmful to the program execution because easily can be identified and rectified while writing the program. And but coming to the runtime errors means the errors which will occur at the time of program execution is called runtime errors. The errors which will occur at the time of program execution is called runtime errors. But runtime errors will give abnormal termination of program execution. Abnormal termination of program execution. Abnormal termination of program execution. Runtime errors will give abnormal termination of program execution, sir. Abnormal termination means here unsuccessful termination. Abnormal termination means unsuccessful termination. Okay. Unsuccessful termination. Abnormal termination means. Just give me one. So runtime errors occurs at the time of program execution. Runtime errors will give abnormal termination of program execution. Abnormal means unsuccessful termination. So unsuccessful termination means when we start execution of the program due to some invalid inputs from our end, then all of a sudden program will execute stop. That is called abnormal termination. So that abnormal terminations or runtime errors we can only handle with exception handling mechanism. The reason is runtime errors are nothing but exception. So what is exception means? You can say runtime error. Exception means runtime error, or else what is runtime error means? It is nothing but an exception. The errors which will come at the time of program execution, that is called exceptions. Exception will give abnormal termination of program execution. Exceptions will give what? Abnormal termination of program execution clearly. Abnormal termination means unsuccessful termination will be there. So most of the cases, exceptions will get due to some programmer invalid inputs only. Programmer's invalid inputs. If programmer is going to give invalid inputs, then maximum cases exceptions will occur. So we have to handle those exceptions. Syntactical errors easily can handle because these are very small mistakes while writing program. So that can be easily rectified and identified by the programmer. But runtime errors, programmer cannot identify because these errors will be raised at runtime only. Okay, this is called exception. So to handle exception, we use exception handling mechanisms. What are the exception handling mechanisms are there means this is logical implementation through we can handle exception, and try except implementation through we can handle exception. Try except implementation is there. Try except implementation. Logical implementation and try except implementation. First priority we should give to logical implementation only. Yes, first priority we should give to logical implementation. Got my point? First priority we should give to logical implementation. In case if any exception not possible using logical implementation or logical statements, then next priority we should give to try except implementation. Next priority we should give to try except implementation. First priority we should give logical implementation. Next priority we should give try except implementation. And all the exceptions may not possible to handle using logical statements. At that time we can go for try except implementation. And most important thing is exception handling mechanism. These two are only for runtime errors, not for syntactical errors. Why? Because syntactical errors can be easily identified and rectified by the programmer at the time of writing. Runtime errors cannot identify and rectify at the time of running. So you have to handle using logical implementation, try except implementation. Exception handling mechanism is for runtime errors, not for syntactical errors. And exception handling mechanism is just process to show alternative way of program execution. Exception handling mechanisms are not repairing the error. We are not going to repair the errors using exception handling mechanisms. We are just showing alternative way of program execution. Okay. Next, what is exactly exception means? Exactly exception means an unexpected event. Unexpected event or unwanted event. Unwanted event will disturb the normal flow of program execution, will disturb the normal flow of program execution is called exception, we can say. An unexpected event or unwanted event. Unexpected event or unwanted event will disturb the normal flow of program execution is called what? Exception. So when the exception occurred during the program execution, all of a sudden your program stopped execution. That is called exception. You have to handle that. To handle that, we use exception handling mechanisms. These are exception handling mechanisms clearly. Okay, right. And now in Python programming, every exception is a class. In Python, every exception is a class. In Python, every exception is a class. There are so many exception classes are there. For example, name error, this is one of the exception. Value error, this is one of the exception class. We got previously these errors also. Type errors, this is exception class. Next, zero division error, this is exception class, zero division error. And next, file not found error. File not found error, in our next topic we'll discuss this. File handling concept time, I'll discuss about file not found error. File exist error, file exist error. So these are all just examples of exception classes. Not only these, so many exception classes according to situation, according to topic which we are writing program, on the topic wise, their exceptions will be raised. You have to handle them. But for all are what? These are all exception classes, that too subclass exceptions. These are not main class. For all these subclass exceptions, who is the superclass? This is the superclass. EXCEPTION. Exception is a superclass of all subclass exceptions. Exception is a superclass of all subclass exceptions. Okay, this exception is the superclass of all these subclass exceptions. Okay, these all classes are derived from this superclass only. While handling exceptions, you can also use this superclass instead of this subclasses also, no issues. Okay, so this is exception. It is a superclass of all subclass exceptions. Clear? Now coming to this, we'll show you just practical implementation. First, what is name error, value error, type error, zero division error, file not found error, all these things. Then after that, we'll move to exactly where exactly exceptions occur, how to handle them, or we have to handle them. But before that, I want to tell you one thing. Syntactical errors also I have to show that. Syntax errors means this is when we miss double quotes, when we miss brackets, when we miss colon or writing wrong spelling to the syntax. In this context, we use syntactical errors here. Let's try to find syntactical errors here first. Okay, let me go to program. Just how syntactical errors are there, how to handle it, just observe here. Just to 21. So let's close this, let's close this, let's close this like this. Now you can see test 21. Now in this case, here in test 21, I'm writing just a code, function creation I'm doing. Function creation is like this, but wantedly I just missed the colon there after F1 bracket. So function is compulsory need colon actually. Function compulsory need colon according to syntax, but you miss the colon. If you miss the colon, obviously you will get what actually? Syntax error, or you can see syntax error you will get. Syntax error. Syntax error expected colon. This is easily we can rectify. Now you can see easily we can rectify. Next, if I miss any what we can say bracket, this is also syntax error. Again, syntax error here. Syntax error, this is. Okay, syntax error, invalid syntax. So for example, if I try to write some print function like this, print. Okay, here, hello, I can say that. But here I'm giving bracket missing. This is also syntax error. Okay, I'm using class, but class spelling is wrong. This is also syntax error. Writing wrong spelling to the syntax. This is also syntax error. All our syntax errors, easily we can handle the syntactical errors by writing spell correct. Okay, but what is runtime errors means? Yes, these are all runtime errors. Name error, value error, type error, zero division error. These are all exceptions. The exception classes, examples of exception classes. In Python, every exception is treated as what actually class. This is name error, value error. Let me show you name error, how it will be. Name error. Name error is simple. A value 10 I'm taking. How the way you have to print A only, but unfortunately I'm giving capital A here. So this name and this name is not matching according to Python syntaxes. Lowercase, uppercase, you have to take care. But it is giving obviously name error. What error? Name error. This is an exception. name A is not defined. Do you mean A? Yes, I mean A. I have to correct it. This is runtime. At the time of program execution, error is coming. This is name error. Next, what error? Value error. Value error means what? Just observe here. I'm asking A equals to int of input of, okay, input of enter a number. I'm just asking number. I'm just explaining what situation you will get this type of errors actually. Okay, A equals to int of input of enter a number, then print what actually A. So when I try to accept integer number, but you're trying to give some floating point value here at the time of runtime. So what error you are getting? Value error. Because your input value is not correct format. Okay, value error is there. Value error. This is value error. So your input is what? 23.4. But we are asking what? Integer number. So this is value error. Invalid input. Next type error is there. Type error when you will get, for example, here I'm trying to add one integer plus one string I'm taking. Now I can say 10 is an integer, Sai is the name, string that is. One integer, one string, concatenation not possible. So obviously you will get what's a type error. Unsupported operand type for plus operator with two instances like int and string not possible. This is type error. So now coming to zero division error means how a number cannot divide with zero, no? Obviously. Okay. 0 by 10 is there. Yes, 0 by something 0 only. But number division by 0 means that is what actually zero division exception, division by 0 is there. This is not correct. Zero division error, division by 0, it's not correct. Okay. Next, file not found error, file exist error. I will show you. I can't show you right now because this is other topic errors actually. File handling concept. Once I finish exception handling, immediately our next topic is file handling in Python only. At that time, I'll discuss file not found error, file exist errors also. File not found error is simple. If you are searching one file for storing the data into that, unfortunately, whatever you mention the name of the file in your program, that is not there. File name is not correct. So file not found error. And if you are trying to create a file, okay, with the proper name of the file, already that name of the file is there, already there. So at that time, we will get file exist error. File is already there. You can go with other name, it will say that. So these are all exception subclasses. And who is the superclass of all the subclass exceptions? This is a superclass. Exception is the superclass. Okay. Now, so let's begin with actual programming and scenarios. I will explain exception handling mechanism. So let us consider a very simple program. A equals to int of input of enter num1. Okay, first number I'm entering. B equals to int of input of B equals int of input of enter num2, enter num2. And now you can see here I'm trying to do print result is result is result result is result is A by B or C equals to better. You can take C also. C equals to A by B I'm taking. And result is what actually? C only. Result is C. That's all. So A, B, C, result is C. Now you can see enter num1 10, enter num2 4. Perfect, 2.5. Result is absolutely fine. A 10 division by 4, 2.5. And now you can see 0, first number. Second number 0. 0 by something, 0 only. It's perfect. And the problem in this case is what, if I enter first number 10 and second number 0, you will get an exception again. 0 division excess. This is called abnormal termination. Unsuccessful termination it is. Due to my invalid inputs, all of a sudden program execution fail. Means in the middle of the program, it is going to be stopped completely. So how to handle this? This is exception. You have to handle this to avoid this situation. Then we use exception handling mechanism. What are the exception handling mechanisms are there? Two types of exception handling mechanisms are there. Any option you can select. But most of the cases in reality, every programmer should try with first of all logical implementation only. If any exception is not possible to implement logical implementation, then we can go for try except implementation. First logical implementation you have to try. Then after try except implementation. So first we'll try with logical implementation. So b equals to something. If b equals to 0, if b equal to 0, because if a second number is 0, I can say something. Print my message is second number cannot be 0. I can say that second number cannot be 0, sir. I can say second number cannot be 0. If user is entered second number is 0, I can say second number cannot be 0. Else part I'm taking, else part. Else, as usual, I have to go over c equals to a by b, and print result is c only here. Now coming to this. So let's run this. Enter num1, first number, second number is 0. And now you can see we are handling the exception without raising any error during the program execution. Then second number cannot be 0. I can say that. That means what? User is trying to give second number is 0. I'm clearly saying message to them second number cannot be 0. So that user can understand that he will not enter second number 0. Now he can enter any number like 4 and 2. 2.2 is coming. How the way I handle this exception? Using logical statements. But all the time, all the exceptions may not possible to handle using logical statements, I'm saying. All the time and all the exceptions may not possible to handle using logical statements, I'm saying. Logical statements through it is not possible to handle all the exceptions. Okay, every time it's not possible to handle all the exceptions using logical statement. In that case, we can go for try except implementation. For example, in this program only, I'm giving enter num1 I'm taking, but user is trying to enter some characters like this, any character, just random characters. Now again it is saying value error. So to handle any type of exception, better to go for try except implementation. Try except. In other languages, programmers will use try catch. Catch implementation is there, but in Python except is there, except block. Okay. So now coming to the try catch implementation syntax is this one. Try block. Inside the try block statements you have to include except block. Inside the except block statements you have to include. There is finally block also there. I'll introduce finally block later once I complete this try except implementation. So try is a keyword, except is also keyword in Python. Inside the try block, I'm including some statements. Inside the except block, I'm including some statements. Now, first control will jump into inside the try block, sir. It will check all the statements inside the try block. It will check all the statements inside the try block. If all these statements are correct inside the try block, all these statements are correct inside the try block, everything is fine, there is no error actually, then try block only will execute, except block will ignore. When if try block statements are perfect, there is no error, everything is fine, then try block will execute, except block will ignore. In case something went wrong in the try block statements or exception occurred, okay, then simply try block will ignore, control will jump into except block statements are executed. So generally what statements we can include inside the try block? Risky code. Risky code means there is a chance to get an exception in those statements. That statements we can use inside the try block. And inside the except block, what statements we can use? Handling code. Handling code means if any exception occurred in try block, you have to handle them. After handle them, what alternative way you're showing to the programmer are important messages. That handling statements we can include in the except block. Okay. So first control will jump into where? Inside the try block. It will check all the statements. All statements are correct. What will happen? Try block only will execute. At that time, except block will ignore. It will not execute. And if anything wrong like this in the statements, exception occurred or something went wrong, and try block will ignore, except block will execute. Handling code will be there. So except block will execute only when the exception occurred in try block statements. Simple. Except block will execute only when the try block statements is having some exception. Then only except block will execute, otherwise not. Let's see the implementation of try block. Okay, same program I'm just converting into try and except. Look at here how I'm converting. Just give me Control Z, and now you can see this is I'm going to remove, and C equals to A baby, print result is C. So I'm saying that in this code is risky code, sir, because there is a chance to get exception in this case. If user is entered second number is 0 or first number is some characters or any characters, there will be chance to get exception. So this is, I feel this is risky code only. This total risky code, where should I keep? Inside the try block. Try colon enter, indentation is by default it's coming, and after that except block is there. Inside this except block, you can write here alternative statements to them. If any exception occurred, what you want to show to the end user or programmer, then you can show. I can show something went wrong. I can say that right now something went wrong. So this code is perfect. Your inputs are perfect. Everything is perfect. Logically is correct. Then total this code will execute try block code only. In case your input is wrong or invalid entries you given, then what will happen in that case? Then directly it will go to except block. So it will go to what? Except block. Print something went wrong like this. Okay. So something went wrong means you have to understand somewhere it is mistake. Let's run this one. And I'm giving first number is 10 and second number is 3. Now result is 3.333, something like this. It's perfect. First number is 10 and second number is 3. Perfect. Yes, that means try block only executed, no issues. Suppose my inputs are wrong, like 10 is first number and 0 is second number. Obviously first number 10 and second number is 0, mean 10 by 0 is what? Exception. So enter that. It is going where? Except block. Something went wrong. Okay. And even this case also you can see, if I entered some invalid characters, I'm asking num1, but user is trying to enter some characters like ABC. When we hit this enter button, something went wrong again. So here something went wrong. Yes, something went wrong. But notice this one important thing. Sir, every time if anything wrong, it says, my program says something went wrong only. What went wrong? I want to know that. Are you able to show the display a proper exception message here? No, we are not able to show a proper exception message. We are just saying that something went wrong. But what went wrong, programmer should understand. No? Okay, that's what here. This is actually default except block. We can say that. This is what except block? Default except block. Again, here I want to tell you, there are two types of except blocks are there, sir. There are two types of except blocks are there. Two types of except blocks. One is default except block, default except block, default except block, and next one is specific except block. Specific except block. Default except block means what? Except block without any exception classes. Okay. Except block without any exception classes. Default except block. Except block without any exception classes. Without any exception classes. This is called default except block. Specific except block means what? Except block with exception class. Except block with exception class is called specific except block. Except block with exception class. With exception class. Now here in this case, which block I'm using? Default except block I'm using. That's what I'm not able to display a proper exception message. What's going to happen? Now you can see 10 and 3, it's okay. But when we give some wrong inputs, I'm giving ABC here. It's something went wrong. It is saying I'm raising 10 division by 0 exception, like 23 by 0. Again, something went wrong. But what's going to happen? I don't know. So because of this is default except block. This default except block always shows user defined messages only what you typed here, but it's not able to show internal exception message. But to display proper internal exception message to the end user for clarity, then we can use specific except block. How to use specific except block? Except block with exception class. Except block with exception class. Here I'm using zero division error as message. Message MSG. As is a keyword here. Sorry. Yes, as. So what is this exception class? Zero division error is an exception class. It is a built-in class. As I said that every exception is class or not? Yes, it is a class. And as is a keyword. And what is this MSG? It is an object of the class. That means whenever we get a zero division exception, internally this class will return a message that will store into MSG object. This name MSG is not compulsory MSG. Okay, you can take any name also, like message like this, or X also you can take like this. No problem at all. It's not a user defined. It's not a predefined name. So this message I'm going to print sir here. Yeah, this message I'm going to print so that clearly it says proper exception message. Now we can see 10 by 0 I'm taking. So it is saying clearly division by 0. Division by 0. So division by 0 means, did I write anywhere division by 0 in my program? Nowhere I have written. But who said this division by 0? This class is returning to this, and this I'm printing here. And this just user defined object actually. Let me go for MSG only. But look at here, even though I used here specific except block, but this program, in this program, we are handling only one exception, that is zero division exception. But if I'm trying to give characters like ABC, then what will happen here in this case? Value error, invalid literal for int with base 10 ABC like this. Invalid literal, value error, invalid literal for int with base 10 ABC like this. Got my point? This is the case. But sir, how we can handle this exception also, value error? Yes, we can also use one more except block like this. One more except block means except block, another exception value error as message, and then print a message. Now this time, how many except blocks are there? Two except blocks are there. And if you enter second number is 0, this except block will take care to handle that exception. If we give any characters instead of numbers, then second except block will take care of that exception. Now, for example, if I enter 12 by 0, division by 0 is coming. Yes, it is handling clearly. And if I enter some characters like this first, so invalid literal for int with base 10 means invalid inputs are coming. This is value error. So multiple except blocks also we can take according to your requirement. And here one more thing, sir, can't we take multiple exception classes under one except block only instead of writing two except blocks? Yes, we can do that. I'm removing this one, you can see. So we can also take multiple exception except blocks, zero division error, comma, value error, round brackets here, you can see enclose the brackets. This is one exception class. This is another exception class as message MSG, print MSG, you can say that. Once I start running, now you can see this. This time, one except block can handle happily all exceptions, 10 by 0, division by 0. And again, I'm trying to execute this. Some characters I'm giving invalid literal for int with base 10 ABC like this. That means try block, except block is working fine. So this is, we can also include multiple exception classes. But one more thing I'm taking. Sir, can we use instead of multiple number of exception classes, because anyway we said that this is the super class, no? Exception is a super class of all subclass exceptions, no? I said. So instead of that all subclasses, this super class we can use. Why not? But don't recommend this superclass usage. Why? Because for simple exceptions, whenever we use superclass, then internally this superclass has to check all the exception classes, like each and every subclasses it has to check. But that is somewhat time-taking process, because the superclass should check internally all the exceptions within it. Okay, so that as a programmer, if you know what type of exception there is a chance to occur, so better to go for what actually your own exceptions only, like zero division subclass exceptions, so we can mention. But sometimes as a programmer, we don't think so what type of exceptions occur. We cannot expect from the program. So at that time, obviously you can use superclass. This superclass will take care of it, everything. So once I start run this exception will be work same as previously how we work. Now 10 by 0 here I'm taking 10 by 0. So division by 0 is coming. So this is superclass also we can use. And now subclass exceptions also we can use. No problem at all. So while writing the program as a programmer, if you have any expectation, like if you have any idea what type of exception there may be chance to get, at that time we can use your subclasses only. If don't have any idea, then better to use superclass only. And one more important thing I want to tell you that is very important. Just observe here. I am taking zero division error at this moment, sir. So this except block is what except block? Specific except block. Why? Because this except block is having exception class zero division error as MSG. Once I run this, now you can see. Just observe here. Once I run this, enter num1. Num1 is what actually 10, and num2 is what actually 0. Division by 0. It is perfect. Okay. But here we are handling only dividend by 0, but we don't handle other exceptions. If any other exceptions occurred, it has to go to where actually again it is giving error. So in this case, I'm taking default except block. I'm taking here default except block like this. Okay. So here and again default except block, something went wrong, I'm taking. So what is the meaning of these two exception except blocks? This is specific except block and this is default except block. First, how to handle the exceptions, if you know, then we can use this except block clearly. In case other than this exception, if you get any other exceptions, then who will take care that? Default except block will take care. Like if you handle zero division, that is take care by your exception class only. If other than zero division exceptions, any exceptions occur, then default except block will take care like this. Default except block is taking care. Yes. So while working with one specific except block, one default except block in the program, two combination. This is default except block and this is specific except block. While working with these two combination, always default except block must be last. Last means last only, last of the program. So what happen if I include this default except block first? This is syntactically wrong. You can see this. So when I hit this or when we place mouse pointer on it, so immediately it is showing that exception. You can see error message clearly is there. Default except must be last, it is saying. IntelliSense is saying that default except must be last. Even then when we hit this, you will get default except must be last. Syntax error, default except must be last. According to Python syntax, if we have in your program one default except block, one non-default except block, and always default except block must be last, a non-default except block first only. The reason why, you know, this default except block will take care every exception. If it is take care every exception, then why you need to specify again this zero division exception? Not required. This is only take care all exceptions. But only the problem is with the default exception is what? It will print only user defined messages. It will not print exception messages. So programmer will not get clarity what type of thing is going inside. So be careful while working with one default except block, one non-default except block. Always default except block must be last and non-default except block always should be first only. When it is possible, when you go for combination, one default except block, one non-default except block, you have to take care of this scenario like this. So this is exception handling basic information which I'm giving. So still more things we have to discuss. More things means what? The try except scenarios and the try except finally scenarios, all these things. So now what I'm trying to discuss now here, just try except logical scenario and some cases are there. I'll try to explain the cases here. So try block is there, sir. Inside the try block statement 1, inside the try block statement 2 is there, inside the try block statement 3 is there, and except block is there, sir. Here except block, inside the except block statement 4 is there, and statement 5 is there outside the total try except final. Try except, try block is having only 3 statements, except block is having only 1 statement, that is fourth statement belongs to except block, and statement 5 is completely not at all belongs to except block, not at all belongs to try block. Got my point? So let's run this, let's write this same program here, try block, and I'm trying to print statement 1, statement 1, statement 1. Now you can see statement 1. Now here you can see print statement 2, statement 2, statement 3, like this. Except block, print statement 3, sorry, statement 4 it is, statement 4. And out of the try except, there is a statement 5 is there, statement 5. So I'm explaining the cases here. What cases? Case 1. Case 1. Just try to understand the flow. Case 1. If there is no exception in try block, if there is no exception in try block, then what statements will execute? There is no exception in try block means everything is fine. At that time, statement 1 will execute, statement 2 will execute, statement 3 will execute, and then statement 5 will execute. Okay, if there is no exception means these all statements will execute, and except block will ignore simply. Statement 4 will not execute. Statement 5 will execute because it is not belongs to except or try block. It is separate. So it is normal termination only. If there is no exception in try block, statement 1, statement 2, statement 3 will execute, and statement 5 will execute, and it is normal termination. Yes, it is normal termination only. Normal termination. Normal termination. Case 1. Next, case 2 I'm taking. Case 2. So case 2 means, let me execute this case 1, correct or not? Yes. Statement 1, 2, 3, 5, and it is normal termination only. Okay. Yes. Case 2, sir. If there is an exception at statement 1, at statement 1, if there is an exception at statement 1, exception at statement 1 in the sense here there is an exception at statement 1. For example, here statement 1 exception is there, 10 by 0. Then what will happen? Okay. Statement 4 will execute because here exception occur. No, whenever exception occur, control directly will ignore this try block. It will go to except block. Statement 4 will execute, statement 5 will execute, and it is normal termination. Statement 4, statement 5 will execute, and it is normal termination. And it is normal termination. Normal termination means what? We are handling the exception. That's what it is, normal termination, I can say. 4, 5 and normal termination. Now I can say 4, 5 normal termination. Statement 4, statement 5, these two executed because exception occurred here only. Control immediately will stop the execution. It will go to except block. This will execute, normal termination. Next, case 3. Observe here. Case 3 is important. Case 3. If there is an exception at statement 1, but corresponding except block, except corresponding except block not matched. If there is an exception at statement 1, but corresponding except block not matched, corresponding except block not matched, then what will happen? What is corresponding except block not matched? The meaning is a 10 by 0 division error, but this corresponding except block is not matched. Value error as message or value error. Yet what error is coming? Division by 0 is coming. But what exception we are using? Value error. Is this match with this? No. So that's what I'm saying. If exception occur at statement 1, but corresponding except block not matched, this is 0 division exception, but we are handling with other exception, then what will happen in this case? Always abnormal termination only. If corresponding except block not matched, then always always it is abnormal termination. Abnormal termination only, we can say that. Abnormal termination only, you can say this. So it is going to be abnormal termination. Abnormal termination, yes. Because we are getting zero division error, but we are handling this with value error. This is not matching, corresponding except block not matching. That's what abnormal termination like this. Suppose last case 4 I'm taking. Case 4 is there. If there is an exception at statement 4, then what is that? This is also abnormal termination. Then always abnormal termination only. Yes. Why? Because during the handling one exception, we get another exception. Statement 4 is where it is there? Here. Where it is there? Here. Except block. In the except block only, again, there is an exception. For example, so generally we have try block, exception is there. If exception occurred in try block, control will move to where? Except block. Why? It has to handle. But in the handling only, there is a more exception. Obviously, almost abnormal termination again. I can say error, you will get what actually clearly saying that we got exception at line number 3. You can see line number 3 exception is there and division by 0. Again, during handling of the above exception, another exception occurred at line number 7. Now, line number 7, another exception are there. Yes. So these are the just cases. Try to understand the flow of try except only. So in tomorrow's session, we'll go for try except finally blocks with combination. And also we can write our own exception classes. Exceptions are 2 types. Predefined exception classes and user-defined exception classes. If existing exception classes already which is available in Python that do not satisfy your requirements, we can also go for our own exception classes preparation. That is called customized exceptions or user-defined exceptions. That we will discuss in tomorrow's session. Okay.